first question that we want to address, which perhaps Charlton, you could address for us, and if you would take the opportunity to introduce yourself, that would be great. What do you think cloud really means for large organisations?
Hi everyone. My name is Charlton Sen. I'm in Cisco for a long time, 12 years, almost half of Cisco life. So and what I'm responsible for the borderless network and data center at Cisco, working in the Greater China area. So I used to be an engineer, then I became a sales. Now I've become a much more passionate about the cloud. So you may have a question about why we're doing borderless network and data center. So actually there's a story behind that. So with a very long story, very short, is that Cisco trying to align ourselves according to what the customer, the concern, the major concern is. We align our sales team, marketing team, product engineer in that way. So that borderless network basically helping our large customer to become a borderless, worldwide competitive global organization. So and borderless network and data center put it together is actually, like if you really think it together, it's really for the cloud. So because we do believe that the cloud is an enabler. But before we have time to talk more about the cloud, I want to throw one thing back is the reason why we don't want to do the cloud is because of, in China in particular, we're having a problem of urbanization. And if you have been any Chinese city, you'll see a lot of traffic issue. What we're trying to do is to use IT and the technology to help to solve the urbanization issue, which I will have time to explore more. And most importantly, what we see that for the large company, large organization, we're working with our vBlock solution with ECE and with VMware and EMC to provide a private cloud, the shortest path to the private cloud. And it is a very fast way to get into the private cloud for some of the large corporations. Actually, many large corporations in Greater China area have started to do that. That's my strategy.
I'm Ching. I work for Gartner, and I've been tracking IT and telecoms for a while. So I heard my fair share of buzzwords. So I think initially when I heard about cloud and cloud computing, I was actually quite skeptical, mainly because cloud is not new. The network has always been a cloud, the internet has always been a cloud. So, what's the big deal this time? And I think part of it is from my historical perspective. IBM started offering viewer services long ago. It didn't work. And 10 years ago, we had the ASP market, or the application services market, which is a precursor of software as a service today. Neither of them work. So as an analyst, I think my job is trying to figure out, is this going to happen this time? And I think we are here to provide guidance to enterprises, whether they should accelerate or they should just sit and watch or whatever. Now, when I look at it a lot more closely, I think this time is for real. That's my opinion. And of course, I will communicate some of our opinions to our customers to make sure that they take advantage of whatever is happening. And coming back to your question about what does this mean to corporates, I think there's a little bit of a mass hysteria now, because the CIOs know what it means, and some of the IT folks know what are the big implications. But now the CEOs are getting involved because they heard so much about it, and the CFOs want to save money. So on top, they're putting pressure down on the IT department to do something about whatever it is. So I think there's tremendous momentum. But whether I think the large corporates will go cloud is debatable. I think especially large Western MNCs, they tend to have very established IT infrastructure as well as skill set. So these folks are actually very cautious. They take a long time to assess. So I actually don't see that much movement. In contrast, I think the early adopters tend to be the SMBs, which move faster. And to me, that's refreshing because it reduces the level and the barrier entry for everybody, which doesn't have the resources of the large Fortune 500s to be able to compete quite effectively. And there's a great level up. And historically, a lot of the early deployments are driven from the West. Frankly, I see a lot of early deployments in Asia, mainly for the right reasons. So I think there's a lot more opportunities than the traditional large Western corporate. So my work is still ongoing. So very encouraged.
I would agree. In some ways, cloud enables the small to get big, or big corporations to compete in a market, say as wide as Asia, is a great advantage. I think that's point one. Secondly, when I speak to our major customers, they talk about the need for accountability. What they're worried about when it comes to cloud is where is the information going? Well, we can deal with that. The more important thing is accountability. Who am I reliant upon? Because when you've got a problem, it gets escalated. The CEO phones the CIO. The CIO phones BT, for example. Not let it happen. They want to know who is accountable. And the last thing they want, as some customer said to me a few weeks ago, was what I don't want to be completely trusting of is 3 engineers sitting in a startup somewhere in 100 miles outside of Dublin, who I've never met, who don't know my name, don't know what my organisation does, and yet I've got a big operation that is totally dependent on me. And I thought it was a very key point. We have to be able to deliver service to an SLA and be accountable for it. Everybody needs to be able to manage risk. And everybody's on a journey. And as you said, most major companies need to find where does cloud fit in a great architecture that is the technology base that they've got.
I mean, if we move on from Neil's points, I think he raises a great point. Jacob, in terms of the conversation with the CIO, I mean, how do we frame the conversation with the CIO? Because we have those CIOs which are fast adopters, those which are skeptics, but how do we get a consistent approach to a CIO that we think can realise the opportunity?
If I may define the large organization, including government and city, if that's the context I'm defining, what we found the most fruitful discussion about the cloud is actually with mayor. So we have many conversations with many mayors, and in particular in China. So with that, Cisco actually have a Cisco booth in Expos. With that, we showcase a smart connected city. And what we found is that sometimes when we are working with the city, talking to the CIO is not the most effective way, because it's going to change the way that how they manage the IT resources. However, when we talk to the mayor, they get it right away. They can see that how they use the technology to manage the healthcare, manage the city, doing the city management. When they see it, they really believe it. And we, therefore, as a result, we're getting a lot of requests from different cities around China in particular, want to go through this thought leadership and define the business strategy and what goal that they want to go do for the next 3 to 5 years. And after they define the end game, they ask what is the necessary cloud path from where we are today and getting into the city cloud, getting into the community cloud, where they can actually better manage the city. Because they really feel that without technology, they are not able to manage the city better. Let me give you one example. So there's a very good soundbite that I found useful. Because what we need to go to do, what we really want to do is to work. It's not go to work. So pardon me, I don't know Japanese or Korean. But in Mandarin we say that 我們去工作，不是去上班。廣東話咧就係話咧，我哋去做嘢，我哋唔去返工。There's a big difference between where you actually conduct your work and where you go to work. What every day in the morning between, in China, even in Beijing, 6:30 in the morning until 10 o'clock is a traffic jam because of everyone need to go to work. And at night, from 4 p.m. all the way to 8 p.m. is a traffic jam. It's just because of people need to go to where they work. But if you think about that, people doesn't really have to go to work. They can start to work at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. So this is the difference that's driving us to see the cloud in a much bigger context of just a vehicle on enabling of some IT resources. We need to use it as a way to transform people's life and transform the city.
A typical large corporate, I think, understands how the technology works. And the initial drivers tend to be about significant cost savings and flexibility. But at the end of the day, like Neil said, the servers are commodity. So they will save some money, and that is given. But they are unlikely to want to go out and buy servers off the web on the fly. So the reason is they are large corporate. They can't take too much risk. So for them, security is important, not just the physical security, it's also the security of continuity of operations. So at the end of the day, they are really going to choose a partner. So somebody that they can trust, that they can outsource their IT infrastructure, and that they're not going to disappear overnight because it's a startup or whatever. So there are a lot of players coming into this. So I think for the typical CIO of a large corporate, the assurance is very important. So the brand and the trust and how you be able to communicate that is quite critical. And there are just too many providers in the marketplace. And I don't think the small ones are necessarily more vulnerable, but there's always a challenge.
I think they're all good points. The way we put it is work is something you do, not a place you go. My English translation. But I think that is the key, is cloud needs to be an enabler. How do you demonstrate that to CIO? Show the examples. Make it real for people. Don't talk about generic technology. Show how it solves a problem. But I do think when we look at the challenge of any large global customer or any large global deployment, be it in Europe, be it in the Americas, be it in Asia, countries and geographies bring complexity and challenges. And the more you can reduce some of that complexity, the better, because it slows you down, makes deployment times longer, it creates a bigger legacy that you then have to manage, and the more you can reduce that dependency, get to a global standard, tune it where you need to for a local country, then hopefully get the best of both worlds. So make it real and really deal with the underlying operational issues you've got. Do that, innovate, make it real, then it just becomes part of the way you deliver for the business. It's not a technology that you need to jump on per se.
About how you're speaking VMware and EMC and Cisco, and this kind of relates to what Chien actually mentioned. I mean, all you're doing, the way you explained it, is creating a VPN for an enterprise. So why is it different? Why are you even calling it private cloud? I mean, the fact that you are incurring capital expenses in collating and collecting network data, routers, switches, servers, isn't that you're just helping them create a VPN? Like in the example of Hong Kong Commodities Exchange or in the Shanghai Exchange. So is it really any different? I mean, are you creating anything different by calling it private cloud?
Yes, so I think that's definitely doing the VPN services is definitely one of the services that we provide. But I think for the cloud, we actually go beyond that. So I think Neil has mentioned that Cisco is working on something called the telepresence as a services, and also we're doing unified communication as a services. What we are trying to address to is sometimes we need to go back to, we try to resolve a productivity and collaboration issues of the customer. Therefore, what we found is that in the past, purely looking at only an infrastructure point of view, or even just a service point of view is not enough. Sometimes we need to do some kind of an application integration along with our partner, Business Platform, so that we can actually offer a service that actually can address to the dynamic nature of the business. sometimes, even though you want to do a VPN service, it doesn't mean that when you have in a disaster recovery case, or even in the information management, or even the backup, sometimes the network itself can give you the flexibility that you want at the moment you want. This flexibility, I think, is going to help adjust to the cost reduction issue and also adjust to the business dynamic issue. And these are the area that I think it makes the cloud more interesting, because in the past, I think that's why I really like the cloud calling the IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. I think by elevating to the services level, for example, Salesforce.com is a way that you're helping us to really manage the business process, which is beyond the VPN, the infrastructure basic supply.
What was the question? I think, yes. I think at the end of the day we need to focus on the problem we're trying to solve, not debate terminology. Otherwise we let language get in the way of solving the challenge and making our customers delighted. I think the only benefit of really what Charleston is really working on with his colleagues and the rest of the industry is the thing that costs customers a lot of money. It's called integration. And that does come with significant benefit. The easier you make that, the faster you deliver benefit. And as my presentation said, let's go beyond the hybrid cloud and look at what it really means.
I think Cyrus was just trying to be provocative. Now, my personal view is that the whole idea about cloud is about sharing infrastructure, and through that you reduce the cost. And most organizations don't have enough scale to really optimize whatever they have. That's where service providers come in. I would say that for the very large companies with the scale, they can operate their own private cloud, whatever they call it, and achieve, a significant amount of scale. And even if they are not the most cost-effective, they will still be effective commercially. I think where this cloud fits is where if it's shared on a massive scale and is highly repeatable and secure, whatever. That's where the benefits comes in. And in a way, it's kind of commoditizing complex technology. And IT vendors like to make technology complex, so they could charge more. And I say, why shouldn't technology be a commodity? Why should we always pay more? And I think we are at a stage where things are starting to happen.